Okay. Good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to this morning's webinar. I've already done a quick sound check there, so thanks a million for everybody who answered. If you're using a telephone, it is possible to increase the volume. Likewise, if you're using your mic and speakers, you can also increase the volume on your computer. Okay, let's get started. First, my name is Karen Bennett. I'm the marketing manager here at BrightPay, and I've organised all of these webinars that we're running over February and March. The BrightPay webinars are specifically designed for accountants, bookkeepers and bureaus who have payroll clients. Today's webinar will look at a guide to profit from auto enrolment, and we also have a guest speaker, Mark Lee, who will discuss how to stand out from your competition. Our first speaker today is Paul Byrne. Paul Byrne is the Managing Director here at BrightPay. He is also a Chartered Accountant, having previously spent 20 years in practice. After qualifying as a Chartered Accountant, Paul went on to set up and manage his own practice. This helped Paul understand both the needs of the SMEs and accounting practices alike. Realizing that the payroll software available did not meet these needs, he set out to provide a solution. In 1991, he went on to set up another company, moving into the accounting and payroll software space. Paul is currently chairman of the Payroll Software Developers Association in Ireland, and he is also a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Today, Paul will present Payroll Bureau's Guide to Profit from Auto Enrolment. I'm delighted to welcome our second speaker today, who is Mark Lee. Now, unfortunately, Mark is having some technical difficulties, so we're still waiting for him to log on. So hopefully he'll get that sorted in the next few minutes. But Mark is not due to present his presentation until 10:30. So hopefully we'll have Mark with us today. So Mark loves working with professionals who want to stand out from the pack. His expertise in this topic dates back to the days when he was in professional practice. It's hard to believe, but Mark really did qualify as a chartered accountant many years ago. More recently, Mark has moved into speaking, mentoring, writing and facilitating. He now has one of the most extensive professional networks of any advisors to the professionals, and was recently voted the second most influential social media commentator in the financial space. Today, Mark will present how to stand out from your competition. So as I said, hopefully we will have Mark on board later on, and he'll sort out his technical difficulties. If not, we will record Mark's presentation separately and email it out to everybody. Okay, so throughout the webinar, you're quite welcome to type in any questions that you may have about any of the topics that we've covered. So again, there on your control panel, there's a question bar. So if you type in any questions, we'll have a 5 or 10-minute Q&A session at the very end of the webinar, and we'll try to get through as many questions as we can. But don't worry if we don't answer your specific question. We'll send a full list of all of the questions along with the relevant answers out to everybody afterwards. Now, the good news today is we have a free competition. The competition is for a BrightPay Bureau 2015-16 license, and we have not one but two to give away today. The competition is open to all attendees who stay for the duration of the entire webinar. Okay, so I'd now like to pass you over to Paul, and Paul will present Payroll Bureau's Guide to Profit from Auto Enrolment. So you're very welcome, everybody.
Okay, thanks Karen, and hi everyone out there, and thanks for joining us today. Just a small bit about myself to start off. My background is as a practicing accountant. I started my own practice back in the 80s and eventually grew to a 3-partner practice with 10 staff before doing something completely different and moving into software development full-time. While in practice, I provided payroll bureau services for about 30 clients, so I know what it is like in the front line. This was partly my motivation in getting into payroll software development to make better software than what I was using at the time. Although I can't claim full credit for BrightPay, which is written by someone younger and better than I, my fellow director Ross Webster. But Ross and I together ensure that it has or will have everything you guys need. So far, the company has grown to 65,000 employers across the UK and Ireland, a figure that we are improving on every day. So here is the agenda for my slot today, which I hope you will find informative and give you plenty of food for thought. When talking, I will refer to auto enrolment or automatic enrolment simply as AE. Okay, so AE is a vast and it's complex subject. It would take days, even weeks, to cover the subject properly. At the end of the day, you should not need to know, you shouldn't need to have an in-depth knowledge of AE. It is up to your pension provider and payroll software provider to filter out all the noise for you. And just on a note, I know that you guys have a lot to contend with in the last few years between RTI, FRS 102, IXBRL, all of these things that you couldn't really charge for. But the good news is auto enrolment is something that it's not that difficult, and it is something that you should be able to get a return from. So in short, AE is a government initiative to help more people save for later life through a pension scheme at work. AE is being rolled out in stages across all employers and started with the larger employers in October 2012. By October 2018, all employers will be required to offer workplace pension schemes to eligible workers. You'll see from the slide that January 2016 is when small and micro employers start to stage. This is the start of the so-called tsunami, and things will definitely get very interesting from there on. A lot of the companies staging before now will probably have had their own HR people to help them through the enrollment process. And the vast majority of those staging from January 2016 will have no in-house expertise and will more than likely turn to you for help. So you have a gift-wrapped business opportunity, and this is business that you don't have to go chasing. So we'll just look at some statistics. The pension regulator has conducted some interesting research. 78% of small businesses will look to their bookkeeper, accountant, payroll bureau or advisor for advice and counsel. And only 43% of small and micro businesses due to stage in 2015 are even aware of the staging dates. Although 91% of small employers and 85% of micro employers are aware of the reforms, only 18% of small and micro employers feel they completely understand what it means for their business. 83% of employers yet to stage do not currently have an active scheme in place. Advisors say 50% of employers have turned to them very close to their staging date. Employees may also look to you for help, not just employers. 25% of employees would opt to go to an independent financial advisor for guidance compared to just 17% who would turn to their employer. And 22% of accountants, 46% of IFAs and 56% of payroll bureaus have finalised their AE proposition at this stage. 43% of accountants indicate that they're offering services in conjunction with an IFA, and of that group, 73% are already working with an IFA to offer an AE solution, and a further 22% are planning to do so. According to the pensions regulator, over 1 million employers will be seeking help and advice on AE. Are you ready? Whether you're a bookkeeper, an independent financial advisor, or an accountant, you need to be prepared if you have payroll clients. They may ask you about workplace pensions and what is involved for them and their business. We'll now examine simple strategies to get you started and help your clients comply with AE. Now, your client's staging date is set in law, and it is the date their AE duties come into effect. They must be prepared for this date. An employer staging date is determined by the number of persons in the largest PAYE scheme that they use based on the data from HMRC held by the pensions regulator on the 1st of April 2012. The pensions regulator will write to all employers to confirm their staging date, but you can look up a client's staging date by entering the reference of their largest PAYE scheme into the pension regulator's staging date tool. When you know your client's staging dates, you can help them understand what they need to do for AE. You can work back from this date to plan what actions need to be taken and when. You can help your clients avoid penalties by understanding how they must comply with their employer duties. Responsibility for complying with the duties ultimately lies with the employer. If employers don't comply, they face enforcement action in line with the pension regulator's risk-based approach. Enforcement action starts with statutory notices and is followed by penalty notices. Further non-compliance may result in court action. There are certain records that must be kept by law by both the employer and the pension scheme as proof of compliance. Keeping accurate records also makes good business sense because it can help an employer to avoid or resolve potential disputes with employees and can help check or reconcile contributions made to the pension scheme. You must keep these records for a maximum of 6 years, except for records of opt-outs, which you must keep for 4 years. A link to the detailed guidance on record keeping will be included in the slides we send you after the webinar. The pension regulator recommends that you create an action plan to give you plenty of time to prepare your clients for AE. 6 months before your staging date, employers should have checked which workers might need to be automatically enrolled into a pension scheme. They should have chosen a pension scheme and confirmed that the pension provider would accept all your workers. You should have ensured that your payroll system supports AE, and you should have started to make your workers aware of AE. The pensions regulator advises bureaus to automate the majority of AE processes, such as monitoring all of your clients' staff ages and earnings and the deduction of pension contributions. It will be important to check with your payroll software provider when the system will be ready to handle the requirements of AE. If it won't be ready, or the functionality isn't going to be made available in time, you may wish to consider an alternative software package that will integrate the required tasks into your payroll processing. Will your clients be using software to automate the majority of the processes? If yes, it is crucial that they hold accurate information about their staff, for example, their personal and address information and the contributions that have been made on their behalf. Appropriate software will allow you to streamline AE processes and increase the return from payroll clients. You need to find out if your software can identify whether you have employees that need to be automatically enrolled. If you don't have access to the necessary software, you will need to get it. When speaking to your existing software provider or selecting new software, you should ask whether the system assesses your workforce, allows the use of postponement, automates employee communications, calculates pension contributions, handles opt-ins and joining, handle opt-outs and refunds, supports you in the issuing and distributing letters to your staff, notifies you when actions need to be taken, keeps records and provides reports, and integrates with some or all pension scheme provider systems. If you are selecting new software, you should ensure that it is compatible with your existing systems. Having got the right software in place, you'll need to know how to use it before you get to your staging date. This means understanding what information you need to put in, how to configure it, and what outputs the software will give and how. You need to test your software ahead of your staging date to ensure you understand how it works and to check that you know where to find all the information you'll need. It is crucial that you hold in accurate information about your staff, their personal address information, and the contributions that have been made on their behalf. Inaccurate records or missing data can have serious consequences, which can include staff being automatically enrolled at the wrong time, probably not being enrolled at all, information about AE not getting to their staff member, and the wrong amount being paid to your staff to retirement. It is the employer's responsibility to ensure that records are correct and up to date. If you have payroll clients, there are 5 important things to consider which will improve profits and increase the return from payroll clients. It will be important to engage with the small and micro employers that have not yet staged. These employers will be required by law to automatically enroll eligible workers into a qualifying workplace pension scheme when they run their payroll on their staging date, assuming they are not using postponement. The first thing to do is to find out your client's staging date so as to start planning accordingly. It is possible to look up the staging date on the pension regulator's website if you have their PAYE information. Be aware that if you decide not to process AE, there will be a risk that you will lose some or all of your payroll clients. The impact of AE will affect your client's business now and for the foreseeable future. The pensions regulator continues to enforce fines and penalties for non-compliance. Not allowing enough time to plan could lead to your clients being fined. AE penalties range from £50 to £10,000 depending on how many employees your client has. In 2014, the pensions regulator fined 169 employers for failing to comply. By planning ahead, it will allow you on behalf of your clients to avoid hefty penalty fines. By understanding employer AE obligations, a bureau can position themselves as an authority figure who is open for AE business. Employers outsource their payroll process to you because you have the know-how and it saves them time and money. Today, with AE, it is not only about cutting costs for employers, but trusting you as a payroll professional to make sure they are fully AE compliant. Furthermore, some employers may not have the competency, time, or know-how to handle AE. Once employers have confidence in your knowledge and ability, they should be open to the idea of outsourcing these AE tasks to you for a chargeable fee. And just as a note here, one example that I know of, a customer of ours, they were charging £400 to their client for handling the staging. This particular client had 15 employees and they were increasing their ongoing chargeable, their ongoing fees from £1 per pay slip to £1.50 per pay slip. And the good news about that is the client was actually delighted with that. Payroll software will play a vital role in ensuring the success of AE. Without the appropriate systems, bureaus will need additional time and resources to plan for AE. Payroll software can provide the necessary functions to automate the employer admin tasks. You will need to know which employees need to be automatically enrolled and which employees have the option to opt in. Payroll software can access employee pay and other information so as to establish who will be eligible, non-eligible, or entitled. AE is presenting bureaus with a unique platform to increase profits. There are a huge number of small and micro employers due to stage between now and 2018. It will be important to capitalise on this window of opportunity. By offering AE as a chargeable service, bureaus can add additional revenue streams, provide added value to existing clients, and increase the possibility of bringing new clients on board. It further provides a competitive edge to you over other bureaus that refuse to provide AE as a service to their clients. Payroll software that can automate these employer admin tasks will be vital to improving profits. If AE is not already included with your current software provider as standard, you may have to pay additional costs for AE functionality and support. Bureaus obviously have the option to consider an alternative software package that has AE features included and no hidden support charges. If changing payroll software, it is always easier to effect the change from the start of a payroll year, thereby avoiding any of the complications of a mid-year change, for example, importing cumulatives, ensuring RTI fields are correct, etc. Fortunately, modern innovative solutions exist that can automate the AE chores. Armed with the employer staging date, bureaus can now simply enter the date to assess each employee's eligibility for AE at the staging date. Good payroll software will further handle all employee AE communications based on each employee's individual eligibility. Okay, and now for the 30-second plug. BrightPay is payroll and AE software which will enable bureaus to help their clients prepare for their staging dates. It's an all-encompassing solution that works to automate and simplify the AE process, making it as easy as possible for you to help your clients achieve compliance. With BrightPay, you can benefit from unlimited employers, unlimited employees, free phone and email support, all for just £199 plus VAT per annum. You can also benefit from a 60-day free trial, which has no limitations to the software. Okay, I would now like to hand you over to Rachel for a 2-minute talk, just showing you just how easy AE can be. In this example, we are assuming that the employer, or you on their behalf, has already registered with a pension provider, in this case Nest. Registering with Nest should take only 30 minutes on average to complete. Before passing over to Rachel, just to say my own opinion, say in the matter of AE providers, is that most small employers will probably choose Nest because it is government backed and it has a mandate to accept all employers no matter what their size. And it has been preparing for the tsunami for the last few years. Having said that, BrightPay will also accommodate the People's Pension, Now Pensions, Scottish Widows, all of which are great schemes, and this list is constantly being added to. So thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Paul. So today we're going to have a look at a company who is set to stage on the 1st of May 2015 and who are using Nest as their auto enrolment pension provider. Today I'm also going to do the demo using BrightPay 1516, which is due for release on the 20th of March, which is this Friday. So if any of you are familiar with our software, you may notice some of the changes we are bringing in. So as soon as your staging date is known, this must be entered in the new dedicated pensions tab that we have created and in the designated field provided. This is to ensure that on-screen auto-enrolment alerts start up at the right time for you. Adding a pension scheme is also straightforward in BrightPay 1516 and can be done in advance of your staging date. Within the Pensions tab, simply click Add New Scheme and choose the relevant pension provider from the listing. So using Nest as our example, you must now enter your employer reference and your group name. Here we also have the option to add additional groups if required and to amend the contribution rates of employees who will be enrolled in this particular group. When ready, select Save to complete the setup. As soon as you reach your staging date in the payroll, in this instance the 1st of May, BrightPay will automatically determine which employees are eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders and entitled workers. You will see on-screen flags and alerts appear to notify you that you have auto-enrolment duties to perform. These alerts will bring you through to the relevant options available for the selected employee's worker category. So you can see here that Alice Barber is an eligible job holder, which means we have the option to enrol her in a qualifying scheme, postpone her for up to 3 months, or mark her as exempt if applicable. So in this instance we're going to enrol Alice, and you must now choose the group scheme that you wish to enrol her into. Once enrolled, BrightPay will automatically prepare the employee's enrolment letter, which is ready for printing or exporting for emailing to the employee. So here we have an extract of Alice's enrolment letter, and this will explain details of her contribution rates, the staging date, her option to opt in, or to opt out, sorry, and general information about auto-enrolment and how it affects the employee. As soon as an employee has been enrolled, joined or opted into a pension scheme, BrightPay will automatically make pension deductions for the employee going forward. These deductions can also be seen on the employee's payslip, which is ready for printing, exporting or emailing directly from within the software. BrightPay can also create the enrolment file and contribution files for upload to the pension provider's web portal. With the click of a couple of buttons, you will be given the option to save the file to a location of your choice, ready for upload as required. BrightPay can also create CSV files for the People's Pension, Now Pensions and Scottish Widows, with more planned for future inclusion. A new feature that is available in BrightPay 1516 is the option to process more than one employee at the same time. You will see here that when enrolling one employee, you will be given the option to enroll multiple employees with these settings. Simply tick the employees who you wish to enrol and simply click OK to complete their enrolment. In a similar manner, you will also be given the option to batch print the enrolment letters for these employees. Likewise, batch processing is also available for postponement and exemption if applicable. So I'll now pass you back to Paul, who will take you through the key takeaways. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that, Rachel. So, sorting your technical stuff here. Okay, the key takeaways, I suppose, for today are first of all, automation. By automating the AE tasks, bureaus can reduce overheads per client and increase staff efficiency and increase bureau profits. Functionality. Ensure your solution has everything to prepare your clients for AE. Hidden costs. Check to see if there are any hidden charges when it comes to the number of employees, employers and the level of support that is provided. Beware of exorbitant hidden costs. Timing. Try to implement whatever solution you adopt from the start of a tax year. and communication. Be proactive by educating and communicating directly with your clients about what is involved for them and what you can do for them. Okay, now this is the stage where Mark is due to join in, and I'm just going to see whether he's on board.
I am here, if you can hear me. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You can hear me. Well,
Now, one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to disable my good microphone because we haven't been able to get the good microphone and our sound working side by side. So apologies if my own sound quality becomes a bit poor from here, but I think we're ready to pass over to Mark, are we?
Well, the chat, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you here.
Okay, let me talk for a second before we try and do anything else technical.
Mark need to share the webcam.
We have I can see your arrow moving. My apologies to everybody listening and watching. I've got some great slides to show you. I was already prepared, and Karen had done everything she could have done to ensure that we were all sorted for today. Unfortunately, I wasn't available for a test run on Monday, and yesterday being St. Patrick's Day meant that BrightPay weren't able to do a trial run. And it seems that unfortunately my MacBook is not up to running GoToWebinar, which means I have a problem sharing my slides with you. But if you can hear me, the next possibility is that you may be able to see me. Is there something I need to do on my machine for that, Karen?
You can put on your webcam, Mark.
Yeah, well, I'm actually using my laptop for this, and my webcam preview, I have 3 options, all, talking, or none.
Okay. Well, then we won't be able to see you, and yeah, we can't see the slides. So I don't know if you want to record it later on, and I can email it to all attendees afterwards.
I think that's probably best.
Yeah.
I can record it using a Google Hangout.
Yeah.
And we can make it available to everybody. It's a great presentation for those who are looking forward to it, how to stand out from other payroll providers, aimed both at payroll providers and at accountants. Tailored slides relevant for it. I've even done some research relevant to it as well to ensure that we didn't let anybody down. And I'm really sorry that we just can't get the technical side of things to work. Really frustrating, and nobody's fault, but a bit of a letdown from my perspective, because you put the time aside to do this sort of thing, and then when it doesn't work, well, you stand out for the wrong reasons, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, these things happen, Mark. So, yeah, as I said, we'll record your presentation and send it out to everybody. So everybody will get a copy of Mark's slide. So thanks very much, Mark. We might just take a few of the questions that have come through here, just in relation to the BrightPay topic. Okay. So thanks, Mark, and I'll talk to you later. So I'm just going to pass you back to Paul, and we'll just have a look at some of the questions here.
Just looking through some of the questions here. This was actually meant to happen in about half an hour's time. It would have time to prepare. Okay. Sorry. Ooh. Okay.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, first question there is about P11Ds. We'll be able to deal with P11Ds in 2015-16. Yes, that is planned for 2015-16. We'll also be able to handle things like P46 car online, and will this be available at the start of 2015-16? The answer to that is no. We don't have that done. If staging date is first of month but not paid till end, do you have to do anything during the first month before pay date is available? Or is it all done a few days before payday? Well, basically the deduction is automatically handled on that first pay date. The communications are also issued. You basically have a 6-week window after the staging date or the auto enrolment date of postponement is used to issue the communications and to actually actively join a pension scheme. So I'm not sure whether I'm answering the question there, but it does handle it properly for the first pay period, even if the staging date will always be the first of the month, by the way. Is it easy to configure and test the software beforehand, and is there a test mode? Well, basically you have a 60-day free trial. It is very easy to set up. You can set up a test company, say, for example. If you eventually want to buy the Bureau license, you can obviously add more companies after that, but you can always have a test company anyway to work from. Pension providers dealing with the micros, especially those less than 5, and especially owner-director, are they out there now? Well, basically, I suppose Nest is probably the default pension scheme most small employers would use. But as I say, Now Pensions and the People's Pension are also very good providers that will handle that level of or that size of employer. How much would you charge per employee or a lump sum? Well, it's difficult to know exactly how to advise on that one. As I say, there is one example I know of, which is a 15-employee company, and the accountant in that case charged them £400 for the staging, and increased the charge per payslip, which that was the model they were using, by 50%. And it should be noted the ongoing duties really, for a small company, they'd be few and far between. It really only happens when, say, somebody hits the age of 22, or in relation to a new employee, or somebody goes over the trigger for auto enrolment, and there might only be 1 or 2 events per annum that we would need to deal with. The software will handle it automatically anyway. Sorry. I know some other questions are coming in about fees. If an employee opts out, does an employer still have to contribute? And the answer to that is no. They opt out within the opt-out window. The software will automatically refund any deductions made, and it'll also basically create a negative employer contribution, because the employer will not have had to make any contributions. They get that refund back from the pension company in that case. Sorry, just trying to look for more questions here. Okay, so can BrightPay handle contractors? BrightPay itself doesn't handle contractors, but we are providing a companion product, CIS Assistant, free of charge for all BrightPay users. Sorry, just there's a Mac edition available. Okay, we have a Mac version available. It will be beta, and it will be available from the start of 15/16. But I say it is a beta version. It doesn't. The Mac version at the moment doesn't actually handle auto enrolment. There's a huge amount of programming involved in handling auto enrolment correctly. And although we have it in our Windows version, it's not yet available in the Mac version. For a small employer, say 5 staff, how much work is actually involved in setting up the AE scheme and the initial admin? Actually, I suppose, contrary to what a lot of other people might say, I think there's actually very little work involved in setting up the AE scheme. For example, if you're using Nest, an average of 30 minutes would see you registering online with Nest itself. And as you become more efficient and more used to that particular interface, you probably even bring that time down. And then actually setting the information into BrightPay itself would be a matter of minutes. The only things you need to watch out for there is that you use the exact same group scheme name, the exact same payment source name as you have set up on the Nest registration page. But no, there's really very little work involved in it. Would you charge your client each month for each employee in auto enrolment? Well, I think that's generally what is happening. Payroll bureaus are actually increasing their fees. As I said, the example I know of, they increased the fees by 50% to handle the auto enrolment, ongoing auto enrolment duties. So that's, I think that's you are actually charging your client each month. Are there any tools or reports on BrightPay to pre-assess the employees and give a report to show the employer the likely pension cost? Actually, no, we don't have that. No, it really only just kicks in whenever the staging date comes around. So actually that's a good idea and probably something we'll look at for including in future versions. Do director-only payrolls have to auto-enroll? Companies with more than one director but no employees, how do we choose? Oh, sorry, yeah, so director-only payrolls, basically if it's only one director, there is no obligation to enroll that director. With more than one director, as far as I'm aware, you do actually have to enroll. Now, the directors can obviously opt out as soon as they are enrolled, so there won't be any ongoing issues there. How do we choose our pension provider, or is there a list of paperwork to go with this? Choosing the pension provider, I believe the pensions regulator has a link with various pension providers details that you can choose from. You can actually it's not actually a regulated activity for accountants in terms of advising which provider to use. It is sufficient to say to a client, say, your software or you are more used to using, say, Nest or the People's Pension or whatever, and to advise on that basis. I think an awful lot of small employers will just want to, just get over the hump. In other words, they want to make sure that they're complying with the law, and they'll probably just accept, whatever is easiest for you. And also, as we said in the previous slides, a fair few accountants or bureaus or whatever are working in conjunction with IFAs, so there'll probably be a bit more work into establishing which is the ideal or the optimal scheme for the employer and the employees in those particular cases. Sorry, is it correct that each company can only choose one pension provider and not various? No, you can actually have a number of different.
Michelle, will you hang up and to try and put it through again?
Sorry, number of different pension schemes in one employer. To a staging date, payslip date, to assess your workforce. Okay, I have got kind of a complicated question here about when the staging date is and when to assess and stuff like that. I think what I'll do is I'll work on the answer to that one and include it with the Q&As that go out to everybody. Are you able to email the employee communications directly at BrightPay if the employee email address is added to the record? At the moment, you can export the employee communications to a PDF, and you can send it as an attachment to an email. It doesn't actually go out directly like the way the pay slips do at the moment. Is the Bureau software package £199 plus VAT, or is that the basic one user? No, the £199 plus VAT is for the Bureau Unlimited Employers version. In what circumstances would an employee be exempt from AE? This was an option on the Employee tab. Yeah, I think there are a number of different circumstances in which they're exempt. I think one is there might be a member of the armed forces, or I can't remember offhand now the other things. I'll include that also in the Q&As. Do you know if a limited company with only directors, shareholders, say man and wife, and payroll has auto enrolment duties? What's the answer to that one again? A limited company with only directors, stroke shareholders, say man and wife as, director and shareholder.
It depends on what the director's employer responsibilities actually are. It doesn't matter whether there's an employment contract in place or not. So if there's only one director, they don't need to be enrolled.
Yeah.
If there's two, it kind of depends. So the safest option is to enroll them anyways, and they can always opt out.
Yeah. Do you think the employer should use an IFA to choose the scheme to avoid any comebacks in future years? Yeah, it's probably advisable, if you have a good relationship with an IFA to do that. As I said, I don't think there could be any comeback if you say, for example, advised the employer to register with Nest, because that they are a very professional outfit, and they're very transparent of their investment policies and stuff like that. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, it probably would be a better service to the client to actually work alongside an IFA. Okay, so just another one on tax months and staging days, and again, I'm going to come back to that one in the Q&As that go out to everybody. Does BrightPay remind you to re-enroll the employee after 3 years if they have opted out? Well, yes, it will. At the moment, we only started handling auto enrolment about a year ago, so the re-enrollment side of things hasn't entered the equation yet in terms of development, but yeah, it will do that, obviously. Can BrightPay be put on about one machine for each? Sorry, I don't really understand that one. For ease of use, is it? BrightPay basically, I think what the question is here is kind of like multi-user or whatever. Effectively, BrightPay works like, say, for example, Word or Excel, and the employer file, it's say like a Word document or an Excel document. So you can have the file, the employer file, anywhere on your network, and as long as the particular desktop can access that, for example, it could even be a Dropbox folder, it will work fine. It won't allow say 2 different users to access the one employer file at the same time. But you can have it on various machines remotely or whatever, as long as the actual employer file is accessible by all those machines. So it could be a network drive, Dropbox folder or whatever. How much extra time would you say a 20-employee payroll would take to process each pay period with AE? Well, it's only if there's any AE events which occur in a particular pay period that there would be anything to do. So like I suppose the typical pay period, nothing's going to happen. Nobody will have gone over the age of 22 or have hit the trigger earnings where they might previously have been entitled workers, and now they're an eligible employer, an eligible job holder or non-eligible job holder. I'd say you probably only have 1 or 2 months of the year where there might be an event. And the extra time really in that case would be minutes, because it's just a communication letter and it's just clicking the enroll button that we would need to do in that case. Okay. Just out of interest, how many attendees are you getting on these webinars? I think it's about 120, I think, on this one. Okay. Don't forget opt-outs have to be re-enrolled after about 3 years. Yeah, I know that one, and that will be included in our software, I say, from next year. How can you bring your staging date forward? So I presume you're not talking about postpone in that case. You're actually talking about choosing an earlier date. yes, you can do that by applying to the pensions regulator for basic year, whatever your preferred staging date is. Sorry, is Nest a good option? Yeah, well, you know, Nest is, I suppose, will be the default option for most small businesses, because they say they will accept everyone. You know, they have a mandate to accept all employers, no matter what their size is, and all the employees that employer has, including the cleaners or whatever, you know. So, you know, even when it's non-profitable for them, they have to take them. To start 6 months prior to staging date seems like a long time. Is this really necessary? Well, look, that's the advice that's out there, is that that's what you should be doing. I know of customers who have actually done everything once the staging date has actually come around. You know, they then have acted. You know, say registering with Nest, 30 minutes, putting the information into software, 10 minutes. So yeah, look, I personally don't think you need to do the 6 months planning. I mean, the only thing you do need to make sure is that, I suppose, your software is capable of handling, you know, automatic enrollment and handling all the communications. That's about the only thing you really just need to make sure in that sort of time frame. But once you know you have that in place, I feel that, you know, once the staging date comes around, you have plenty of time. How good is the telephone email support of BrightPay, and will problem/questions be dealt with immediately? Well, yes. I mean, I think our telephone email support are excellent. You know, we have great staff here, and you know, they're very dedicated, and they're all very, very tuned into, you know, auto enrolment. What about if director's wife is occasionally remunerated, then the company must set up a Nest scheme and make the rare contribution? What about if the wife in this scenario is already in retirement? It's already in retirement. I think that it might be exempt in that case, because you know, auto enrolment only applies for between the age of 22 and state pension age, so there'd be no obligation to enroll the wife in that case. So I actually don't think in that particular case you're outlining there would be a need for the company to do anything. You know, okay, the worst case scenario, they might need to register with a pension scheme, and if anybody needs to be enrolled, just opt them out straight away, and you know, there's really no time involved in that. Does BrightPay support opting out option as well? Yes, it does. Do you think as accountants we could choose a pension and stick with this? Yeah, no, you're perfectly entitled to advise on a pension scheme that, you know, you are used to dealing with and that your systems can handle. You know, providing that pension scheme will accept all the employers, which is, say, the likes of Nest has a mandate to do anyway. If a director is only payroll and they choose to opt out, does the company still need to enroll in the scheme? As far as I know, the answer to that is yes. Can individuals make investment selections within Nest? Again, as far as I know, they can, because they have I think they have access to some sort of dashboard. Once they're enrolled with Nest, I think they can influence, you know, the riskiness or otherwise of the investments that are made by Nest. The Nest have a sort of default option that you know, younger people, you know, there'll be more sort of equity related type investments, and when you come around to you know, close to retirement age, it becomes more cash type investments, so there's less risk. But as far as I know, with Nest, you can actually you know, opt for different sort of investment decisions. Sorry. Once an employee is taken on within the company after the staging date, how long do you have to auto-enroll them? Well, okay, you can postpone their enrollment for 3 months. If you don't postpone and they're over the trigger of what is it, £200 a week or whatever, they need to be auto-enrolled basically on their first pay date. Sorry, isn't here? Which pension providers do the communication letters, etc., to all employees? Does BrightPay have that function? The Now Pensions does all the communications if you opt to go that way. When you set up with them, you can decide whether they're going to handle all the communications or just the communications for enrolled employees. And yes, we do have the ability to basically indicate within the software, which option has been taken in those cases, so that if you say that the pension provider is actually handling all the communications, you can turn off the reminders that will come up within BrightPay to actually issue communication letters. Sorry. What is eligibility from pay at the 1%? Sorry, I don't know. What is eligible? I actually don't understand that question. Is BrightPay password protected and is easy to back up each client per pay period? Yes, BrightPay is password protected, and we do have the ability to back up each client. Yeah, it's basically what we call a snapshot within the software, but it's very easy to do. Salary sacrifice, does the software handle this? Yes. Sorry, I've been looking at several software for AE. How would your software compare to more expensive software like Sage? But as far as I'm aware, our software handles everything, and it is considerably less costly to a lot of our competitors. So, I mean, sure, I'd say you can download it and try the trial period of 60 days and see what you think yourself. Sorry, if the staging date is in 2017, can you bring it forward to like this year or 2016? Again, I think the answer to that is yes. With the pension regulator, you can apply to bring your staging date forward. Re-uploading a CSV file to Nest, will this need to be done every pay period, even if all employees had already been assessed and had opted out or are not eligible? Oh, that's a good question. So basically the CSV file wouldn't have any contributions in it. Actually, I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't even thought about that scenario. I think the software itself will prepare the CSV file, but whether or not Nest would be looking for it, I'll check. I'll come back to you on that one. Sorry. It's for payrolls with 3 directors and no employees, where there is no automatic enrollment duty. Do you have to advise the pension regulator that AE does not apply to the company? Well, the declaration of compliance that goes to the pension regulator within 5 months of the staging date basically would include that information on it, as to how many employees were enrolled or whatever. So I think that is probably where you're advising. Basically, that's where you advise the pension regulator. I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question correctly, Sandra, or I'm not sure I completely understand the question. Sorry. Payrolls with only 1 director and no employees, so there's no do you have to advise the pension regulator that it does not apply to the company. Yeah, again, that goes on the declaration of compliance within the 5 months of staging date.
Can you read out the questions so people?
Sorry, yeah. Okay, if you pay it to a chosen scheme but leave your workforce after a year and go to another employer, what happens with whatever you have paid in after that? So you wouldn't be paying in after that. The next employer wouldn't necessarily have the same scheme in place that of the previous employer. and they wouldn't be obliged to set up that scheme because you have previously been contributing to a particular scheme. But as far as I know, again, the pot is available and it's protected and it's increasing. I think there's plans afoot that these pots can be transferred between different pension providers. What is eligibility? Well, basically, eligibility is where employees between the ages of 22 and state pension age and earn over a particular threshold each pay period. I think it's £200 a week, and that's when they become an eligible job holder. And providing the employer has hit their staging date or afterwards, they'd be obliged to be auto enrolled. Okay, I think we're actually hitting the threshold of my own time available. So apologies if I haven't answered any questions, and I'd say hopefully we'll get the questions and answers out to everybody. So I think I'll wrap it up at that, and I'd like to thank Rachel for her quick demo and Karen for organising this, and thank you all very much for tuning in.